Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm glad you guys jumped in, man. If you guys obviously we're here for start sit, man. Week one, let's go. Week one, let's go. I can't believe we're here. This is great. It's like Christmas morning, honestly, when we get to week one. First time in 10 years, your boy's not in a suit on a Sunday. I don't know what to do with myself. So you know what? I'm just gonna wear my Demon Slayer shirt and we're gonna get rolling here, okay? So, hey, listen, I'm gonna lay out a bunch of my favorite matchups from today. I've been a little slacking in terms of the content department. I get it, I understand, but I had a lot of different things going on in my life, man. But yeah, man, we're back, baby. We are so back. Week one is here upon us. I'm gonna let some folks trickle in here, but if you guys got some questions, obviously throw them my way, and I will get to as many of your questions as possible. By the way, you guys need to help me out here a little bit, okay? Because I can't monitor my audio. If y'all would be so kind, and just to let me know if my audio is going well, it's working, then man, that would be very very helpful for your boy. Okay, so hold on, give me 1 second, man. Let me first of all let me let the people know that we're on now and live. Okay, Bop, that's the tweet. We send it out. Okay, cool. All right, let's get into it, man. Let us get into this thing, man. Let me fire up these data points that I got going on. And man, I'll start off with just some of my favorite plays. How about we do that? Let's pull this up, man. By the way, how we feeling about Denzel Mims, Marvin Mims? Denzel Mims would be interesting. Marvin Mims today. Jerry Judy out. This was ruled. This was like I got that Adam Schefter tweet at freaking what is it, like midnight or something, man, on the West Coast. It was crazy, dude. That Jerry Judy was going to be out, and now Marvin Mims is going to be definitely slated in there to seeing starter reps. So that should be a lot of fun. I will say this: the matchup in the slot is really good for Mims. Las Vegas has allowed the second most fantasy points per game, second most yards to wide receivers in the slot. But the weird thing is that Jerry Judy was the primary slot man. They were running Mims as an outside guy. He's played like 90% of his snaps from the outside in the preseason. So I'm curious to see the usage for Marvin Mims, my guy, man. I'm such a huge Marvin Mims fan, dude. I think he's going to absolutely blow up this season. I think he might be the top rookie in fantasy this year. All right, so let's get into some of these questions, dude. I do, like I said, I appreciate you guys jumping into the stream and doing the thing. All right, let's go. Fadon, man, hey, good to be back. I'm bummed. I'm obviously bummed that we're not doing Fantasy Zone because Fantasy Zone was like my life. It was my life. 5 years we did Fantasy Zone, man, and so it's a little weird. Not gonna lie, we still got a group chat. So we still do got a group chat on in regards to the Fantasy Zone peeps, and we got a contest and everything going. If you guys have followed the show, we got a weekly DFS contest. We're all in there, man. So it's going well. But yeah, we were in the group chat and we were talking about, man, I can't believe we're not going to be on air doing Fantasy Zone. The show itself had been on for, I think, 9-10 years. I was on there for 5. So yeah, man, it's a little weird. Like I said, being here on a Sunday morning on the West Coast and not wearing a suit. Not gonna lie, it's a little weird, but that's okay. Fadon, man, it's great to see you, dude, and obviously good luck to you in our fan league. Got a fan league going, and our boy Fadon is in there. All right, 2-part question here for you. Full PPR. You're rolling with Deion Jackson. Take a flyer on Zay Jones. Risk waiting for Waller for the late game or just plug in Musgrave. Yeah, I'd probably just plug in Musgrave. I don't know. Waller's got a really bad injury history too, like quad hamstring injuries have been, ailing him for the past couple of years. So I'm not really trusting it. I would imagine he takes it safe here, especially as we enter week number 1. And by the way, it's like tight end apocalypse, man. I mean, you talk about Mark Andrews, you talk about, Darren Waller being hurt. It's madness. Absolute man. Travis Kelce obviously didn't play on Thursday night too, man. It's crazy. Go ahead and give me Musgrave there. Can I give you a couple sleeper tight ends though? Let me pull that up. Um, the reason I wouldn't play, well, first of all, I really like this kid, Daniel Bellinger. I really like this kid, Daniel Bellinger, man, for New York. I think he's really, really good. And if Darren Waller hadn't signed there, or if Darren Waller misses extended time, Daniel Bellinger absolutely worth a pickup. I thought he made a lot of splash plays last year. He really popped on tape for me. This guy could just play. The problem with Bellinger was that that's not really even a problem. He got this random eye injury, a significant eye injury that kept him out a big chunk of his campaign last year. But I think he's going to be back, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Dable runs a lot of two tights out there. Darren Waller almost acting as like Kyle Pitts X receiver role. I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't like him in this matchup because Dallas last year allowed the fourth fewest fantasy points per game and the second fewest touchdowns, fifth fewest yards to tight end. So pretty tough paper matchup. Obviously, everything changes in the offseason, but if we're going off of some data from last year, Cowboys tough matchup against tight ends. But in that game, though, if Jake Ferguson is out there for y'all, it's a really solid matchup against the Giants defense because the Giants allowed a 75% catch rate in the NFL to tight ends last year. That was the third worst. They're bottom 10 in terms of yards per game allowed to that position last year as well. I think it's a pretty solid matchup for Jake Ferguson. And then how about, look, if you want to get sleeper here, okay, I think Juwan Johnson, solid sleeper, really good matchup against Tennessee, who allowed the third most fantasy points per game to that position last year. I really like Tyler Higbee as a solid sleeper as well. Obviously, we know no Cooper Kupp. Seattle, though, was gashed against tight ends last year. And by the way, this is kind of sort of, I don't want to say it's like thematic for Pete Carroll, but kind of. Pete Carroll, even going back to his USC days, seemingly gave up random big games to the tight end position. So Tyler Higbee, I think, is a really solid sleeper. But Seattle last year allowed the second most fantasy points per game to the tight end spot. They allowed the most yards to tight end. And Seattle also allows really explosive plays to tight end as well. 14.35 yards per reception to tight ends. That was the worst in the NFL. So, yeah, I think Tyler Higbee, very solid sleeper today. If you want to get absolutely crazy, I got two deep sleepers here for you. Logan Thomas against the Cardinals. Cardinals were just the stone-cold worst team against tight ends last year. I won't go into all the numbers. Just know that they're awful, terrible, and we're probably going to be terrible again this year. And then Gerald Everett, deep sleeper for the Chargers. I think, look, the over-under is 51, which they're anticipating a very high-scoring game. I think it's going to hit the under, by the way. I think it's going to be under because both teams are generally not great against the over-under. But I do think Gerald Everett is worth a deep sleeper play if you're absolutely desperate at that position. Maybe you've got, like I say, maybe you've got Darren Waller out there. Maybe you've got Mark Andrews, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Somebody else already picked up Isaiah Likely. Miami allowed a 78.7% completion rate to tight ends last year. That was the worst. Almost 80% completion rate to tight end. And they've allowed the fifth most receptions and the sixth most fantasy points to that position group as well. It's still early in the morning for your boy here, but that's okay. But yeah, I think Gerald Everett is at least worth a deep sleeper play. What does a target share look like, especially after they add Quentin Johnson? I'm not sure. But, hey, listen, Gerald Everett obviously knows the system, and it's supposedly going to be a high-scoring game. Should be a higher-scoring game than a lot of folks anticipate anyway, so there you go. Gang Green, man, what's up? Good to see you, boy. Flex slot in full PPR, Zay Flowers, George Pickens. Ooh. That's interesting. I am not going to lie. I kind of like Zay Flowers here. But if you're looking for splash plays, baby, and you've got him in the slot, the flex spot, rather, is I would probably chase that upside with George Pickens. I don't think if you're looking for 2 touchdown upside, it's George Pickens, right? It's not Zay Flowers. But in PPR, certainly the floor is a lot scarier I think, for George Pickens. Hold on, let me look at this here real quick. Okay, so outside wide receivers, Pittsburgh. Um, hmm, taking on San Francisco. And San Francisco obviously was a great defense last year. But believe it or not, San Francisco they were about middle of the pack when it came to, and really like lower, like bottom third, when it came to defending against outside wide receivers. I have it down as a neutral matchup for both Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you want to chase that touchdown upside, I kind of sort of like Pickens here. But again, I think if you want a little bit better of a floor, go ahead and give me Zay Flowers. Yeah, I'm seeing a Ravens flock here from Jacob Pierce. The thing with that, man, in regards to Zay Flowers, we don't know about his usage. All three receivers are healthy. It should be a little bit more compact because Mark Andrews is not there, but don't be surprised if Baltimore runs this ball a lot. Houston was absolutely god-awful against the run. I know they want to show out and show this new offense, and Lamar wants to show that he's a different quarterback in this new Todd Monken system, but at the end of the day, Harbaugh's Harbaugh. Okay, I think they're going to run the ball, and they'll let Lamar cook for sure. I just don't know how much meat is on that bone. Zay Flowers is going to need a splash play. I think, me personally, I think Zay Flowers is going to need a splash play to really hit this week. Whereas George Pickens, I think, might be a little bit better utilized in that offense. Man, you know what? Screw it. Go George Pickens. I don't know why I'm hemming and hawing, but go George Pickens right there. Like I said, I'm a little bit worried about volume for both guys, to be 100% honest with you. And George Pickens, I think at least, they're looking for shot plays for him. There you go. Time for some unwarranted confidence. Let's go. That's right, dude. Let's get irrationally confident about players here as we enter week number 1. Boy, I love it. Anthony Russell, man, what's up? Good to see you, bro. Happy kickoff Sunday. Stuck between Jahan Dotson and Deontay Johnson. Ooh. JD or DJ? You started Tony on Thursday. Ugh. I don't blame you for starting Tony on Thursday. But if you listen to the podcast, the Reception Perception podcast, I've never been high on Kadarius Toney. Not a great route runner. I think, obviously more of a gadget style player. And I think all this talk of Kansas City hyping him up to be like, oh, he's going to be the guy. I think it was really just to get his confidence up. I don't think that was ever part of the actual game plan. We're talking about Andy Reid here, man. This guy draws up great plays. You got to be an actual receiver. You have to be an actual pass catcher. Whether we're talking about Travis Kelce, to be the featured guy in an Andy Reid offense. It's not just backyard football with Andy Reid. He's very precise, man. So I don't really know. He's a very precise offensive-minded coach, and Kadarius Toney's very much not that guy. Not a precise, route runner at all. So, that's just my take on Kadarius, man. Yeah, Demon Slayer. Let's go. But back to your question, though, bro. I really like Deontay Johnson's floor. I think he gives you a pretty safe floor. Jahan Dotson, again, could be utilized a lot or a little. The Terry McLaurin toe injury, that scares me a lot. And plus, does Washington just run away with this thing? Arizona sucks. They're so bad. They're going to be so bad. I just wonder if Washington's defense just runs all over the offense for Arizona, and does Arizona put any points on the board? You know what I'm saying? I think this could be a blowout. And if it's a blowout, you're really hoping for Jahan Dotson early. I don't know how much we're going to see of him late. I think the running backs both get play. I think they're both in really strong positions, both in really, really strong starts there for both running backs there. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's interesting, Arizona last year, believe it or not, they actually gave up the 4th fewest fantasy points per game to wide receivers, and this is kind of a sort of a reason why. They sucked, and their run defense was so beatable, and their tight ends, by the way, tight ends were just running rampant all over Arizona. The wide receivers never really had to get that much work. That being said, again, I start talking about touchdown upside. Dotson gives you that touchdown upside. My dude Dotson had like an unreal touchdown rate last year, right? What was it? 7 touchdowns on like, I don't know, less than 100 targets or something. It was just crazy, crazy stuff. I think that sort of normalizes. And then on the other side, you had the literal opposite in Deontay Johnson. My dude saw 140 plus targets, saw 0 touchdowns. How is that possible? There's got to be positive touchdown regression here coming for DJ. Give me DJ of this group, man. By the way, I think Deontay Johnson is really underrated. He does some boneheaded things. He makes some bad drops. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but Deontay Johnson, I think, is a really, really good route runner. He's going to get open, and I think the preseason showed it too. He's going to be an absolute integral part of this offense. So go ahead and give me him, especially in PPR. Jacob Pierce, likely over Njoku. You've got Deshaun at quarterback. If you've got Deshaun at quarterback, I don't mind Njoku. Let's see what happens there. Look, Isaiah Likely, I think he showed well last year in spot starts for Mark Andrews, right? But that being said, that was under a Greg Roman offense. That was with a wide receiver room that was completely bare bones, bereft of anybody, right? Now they've got, again, theoretically, let's keep our fingers crossed here, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers. I think these boys are going to eat, Does Todd Monken's system feature tight ends? Not that I know of. Not that they're going to be ignored. Everyone's a pass catcher in a Todd Monken offense, all right? But, yeah, no, I kind of like Njoku, man. And if you've got Deshaun, stack it up, baby. Let's stack that up. Let's go. Clark Schuyler, always good to see you, dude. Always good to see you. I always appreciate the support, man. All right, here we go. Van Jefferson, Eli Moore, non-PPR. You know what, man? Give me Eli Moore. Let me tell you why. It's not a good matchup for Van Jefferson. Seattle was really good against outside wide receivers. Now, Van Jefferson's probably going to move around, but I wouldn't be surprised if Van Jefferson does play a lot more X receiver. Okay, hold on. I got this data for you. You ready? Here we go. I've got Van Jefferson as a bench. He played 75% of his snaps outside last year. Seattle, very tough on outside wide receivers last year. I want you to think about one name, and that's Tariq Woolen. Okay, I know he doesn't move around the formation, but still, we're slicing that pie thin, baby. Tariq Woolen was shut down, obviously. Seattle, as a result, gave up the second fewest fantasy points to outside wide receivers. They allowed the 8th lowest EPA, pass EPA, to receivers targeted outside. All the numbers look great. 3rd fewest yards per target. 4th fewest touchdowns. The 5th lowest completion percentage to outside wide receivers. Van Jefferson, especially with no Cooper Kupp there, forget it. I don't see it. I think they're going to attack in a lot of different ways. Randomly, I think Ben Skoranek is going to score a touchdown. I've got Ben Skoranek in here over Van Jefferson because I think Van Jefferson is going to be more of a decoy with some clear-out routes, and they're going to use some underneath stuff. By the way, I just talked about Tyler Higbee. I think Tyler Higbee, anytime touchdown. Sign me up, baby. Seattle's defense overall is not good, but they're really good at limiting outside wide receivers. So what does that tell you? It tells you that everywhere else they can be beat, right? So I like the Tyler Higbee anytime touchdown for sure. So, yeah, go ahead and give me Eli Moore of those two right there. Aiden, what's up, man? Good to see you. All right, cool. Audio is good. I appreciate you guys. All right. Fernando Maíz, what's going on, man? Long time no talk here. Let's go. Good luck this season. Thanks for the help. Got a couple for me. All right, hit me, boy. Hit me. Half PPR, Higbee or Likely? Higbee. Give me Higbee there. Half PPR, Brian Robinson or Khalil Herbert? Ooh. How are we feeling with Khalil Herbert, guys? I want to know. Khalil Herbert, man, that's a good one. I really think he's a super talented player. Green Bay, I thought, struggled at times against the run. And Khalil Herbert, like I said, I think he's just a phenomenal player. I really like Khalil Herbert. I don't know why they decided to bring in Deontay Foreman. Then they go and draft Rashawn Johnson. So maybe the team is telling you. I think the team is telling you they don't love Khalil Herbert, right? Um, I just it was very confusing, right? Like they let David Montgomery go, and rightfully so. Not a great player. And I thought it was going to be wheels up for Khalil Herbert because he played so well. That this one's a tough one for me, man. Brian Robinson, obviously great. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better game script. 7-point favorite is Washington. They're going to pound the rock a little bit. The offensive line is fine, but Arizona's just trash. They're so bad. Watch Arizona go out there and put on a show though today, man. That would be funny. But no, I don't think so. I think they're going to be absolute terrible. You know what, man? I'm going to go in a half PPR setting. I'm still going to go Khalil Herbert. If they go hot hand approach, man, and Khalil Herbert gets hot, I'll go there. Yeah, give me Khalil Herbert of that group. T. Higgins or Hopkins, half PPR. Ooh. This one's tough too, but half PPR, I'm going to go Hopkins. The guy's probably going to see. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Over under 15 targets for Nuke Hopkins today. Who's taking the under? No one. No one's taking that under too. I think he might see 15 targets. I think that's probably a fair, over under line. But if it was like the betting markets, nah, no one's taking the under of 15. No one. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Man, this is a long ass question, Fernando. What's going on here, bro? Mike Williams, DJ Moore. Oh, DJ Moore, 100%. Full PPR, Cam Akers, Chris Godwin, or Amari Cooper. Guys, I'm not a Cam Akers fan. I'm not. I think he's a guy. Okay, now that being said, bro, it's a good matchup. It really is. Seattle, let me pull it up for you here. Seattle is okay. So Cam Akers, I've got down as a strong start with a throw up emoji. That's literally what I wrote down. Seattle allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to the position last year. 4.66 yards per carry allowed to running backs. That was 9th worst. And they've also allowed the 6th most receptions to running backs. Now, that part of it, I think, is really important. By the way, deep sleeper stash, you got to have Zach Evans on your bench somewhere. Okay? Like, just have Zach Evans somewhere stashed away. I love the Cam Akers bros as if the guy didn't tear his Achilles. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the same player that we're talking about coming out of college, man. Like, I don't know why people still stand for Cam Akers. This guy's he's just a dude. He's a guy. And I get it. The last 3 games of last season, he looked awesome. Bro, 2 of those games was, again, against the worst rush defenses in the NFL. And one was an absolute blowout where he got a ton of touches. But I will say, in today's matchup, I do like Cam Akers. So if you're going Akers, Godwin, or Amari Cooper, I think Amari Cooper is going to have a good game too. But again, it's hard to get away from Cam Akers here, at least in week number 1. The other thing I'll say about Cam Akers too, the reason I love Zach Evans too, like I said, I think Cam Akers is just a guy. But the other thing too, are we forgetting the fact that the team basically gave up on him and he basically gave up on the team? They're not financially, motivated to play this guy. There's literally no connective tissue between Akers and the Rams. Like if this season starts to get away from him like it did last year, I wouldn't be surprised if Akers is, benched and they want to get an evaluation on Zach Evans, right? Or an evaluation on any of these guys that they got on the roster. So I don't know, man. Like, watching Cam Akers go in the 4th, 5th round of drafts was just like mind-boggling to me. I'm like, what are we doing? It's like we're completely ignoring all of the historical stuff that went into this relationship. I mean, they could move on from Akers in a freaking flash, man. Like, I don't really understand it. But I'm saying all this to say, go ahead and start Cam Akers here in week number 1. All right, so we could. Isaiah, hey, man, what's up, dude? Let's go. Stevenson or Dobbins? Stevenson or Dobbins? J.K. Dobbins. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins for sure. I like Ramondre, but can we at least get through week number 1 here, and just to see what the splits look like? and obviously the I don't know how great that matchup is looking. You know, look, Philadelphia last year did get run up on for a stretch. Then they shored it up. It's a neutral matchup. At least that's what I've got here today. And by the way, they added to the defensive line. So, I don't know, man. I think they did try to address the running defense a bit there in Philadelphia. And again, I know fantasy people want to be crazy about Ramondre. I drafted Ramondre in a bunch of spots. Okay. I love Ramondre. He's a great player, good pass catcher. He could do it all. That being said, Zeke is in town now. And it's like, I don't want to hear about analytics when we're talking about the Patriots, dude. You know, like they run their system. They don't care about analytics, dog. Like, you think one of the greatest coaches of all time, arguably the greatest coach of all, like, you think he's going to listen to some computer guys? Nah. Like, he's figured this game out. You know what I'm saying? So if he sees something in Zeke Elliott, bro, they're going to give it to him, you know? And you know, and again, like, did he lose a lot of juice last year? Of course he did. Of course he did. Like, the tires, man, like the tread on the tires, I don't know how much he's got left, but dude, he still played all right. It's not like he was like the stone cold worst running back in the NFL, you know. It's just that we were, you know, the Pollard bros out there just wanted to see Tony Pollard get a full workload. And I get it, you know, explosive player, all that kind of stuff. That's great. But yeah, man, like, I don't know, man. The fact that this team, New England, signed Zeke Elliott gives me a little pause. That's all. Just gives me a little pause. So I will go ahead and go Dobbins here. By the way, it's an awesome matchup for Dobbins. You couldn't ask for a better matchup against a Houston defense that last year was just absolutely destroyed on the ground. Come on now. I got this data here. You ready? J.K. Dobbins, I've got him as a smash start. Smash. Okay, Houston allowed the most fantasy points per game to running backs last year, third most yards per carry, the most touchdowns. Obviously, they bring in D'Amico Ryan, so they'll be better. They will be better than last year. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to be the absolute stone cold worst defense in the NFL. It's almost impossible when you're talking about D'Amico Ryan's coming in. I think they'll be much better. Now, that being said, just from a talent perspective, they still got a ways to go. All right. Like, obviously, they tried to address that defensive side of the football a bit this offseason, but I think still overall, I think they're going to be a below average unit. J.K. Dobbins, should be fine. I think he's going to be a good player here today. And I really like the matchup. So I will go J.K. Dobbins. And the funny thing about that, I'm telling you this with like confidence, I'm probably on an island. I bet you if you ask 10 other fantasy analysts, they're going to say Ramondre. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I think it's Dobbins today. That's just me. Yeah, I think Baltimore gets out there. I think they get out to a double-digit lead. And yeah, I think Dobbins is going to cook. The funny thing is, even if it's a close game, I still like Dobbins. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's going to get work, dude. He'll get work. Aiden Gallegos. Swift or Smith-Schuster? You know what? Scarily enough, I like Smith-Schuster. Hold up. I actually have some nuggets here on DeAndre Swift. New England was... Yep, fade bench DeAndre Swift. New England allowed the fewest touchdowns to running backs last year. 3.81 yards per carry allowed last year to running backs. That was fourth best. Plus, very unclear workload in Philadelphia. I don't know who's getting the rock. I really don't. I really don't know who's getting the rock there in Philadelphia. So I actually like Smith-Schuster. People shit on Smith-Schuster, which I understand. But Philadelphia last year. So look, we know Juju's going to play in the slot, right? He is going up against Philadelphia Eagles defense that last year allowed the fourth most fantasy points per game to inside wide receivers and the fifth most touchdowns. Okay, so hold on. Whoa, had to sneeze. Okay, so Juju in the slot. It's a good matchup against Philadelphia. It's more of a funnel defense that you want to get away from those outside corners and Slay Bradbury, right? So you funnel those targets inside. Juju, I think, is going to get some work. By the way, probably their most, I don't know. I want to say their most, probably their best wide receiver. I mean, who else are we throwing the ball to? Devontae Parker, maybe? I don't know. Hey, can I also say this about a sleeper, deep sleeper, stash guy? If you're in a really deep league here, I really like this Demario Douglas character. Okay, 5'8", 180, but he ran a 4.44 and has a 40-inch vertical. So if this is a team, New England we're talking about, that's looking for team speed or athleticism, which obviously they are, they try to get guys that like ran sub 4.4s last year, and Pierre Strong at running back, and who's the kid on the outside, Tyquan Thornton, are super fast. They're just looking for speed because previous seasons they were just so slow, and of course then they go and bring in Juju, who's slow, but that's okay. That's all right. He's an accomplished slot guy, and I think this offense obviously is going to use the slot. So give me Juju there in that matchup because, again, I'm just not sure what that DeAndre Swift workload is going to look like. And yeah, to be honest with you, not a great matchup anyway. So there you go. All I see is gold. What's up, man? Good to see you. Pick 2 of Javonte Williams, Najee, Cam Akers, or Scary Terry. Scary Terry's right. That toe injury, turf toe, that scares me. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I kind of, sorry, I'm trying to get my technology here squared away as we're approaching kickoff here. Okay. Yeah, the toe injury scares me. Obviously in a matchup where they might not need his services. So I'm a little worried about volume. I'm worried about the injury. I'm worried about volume. I think you could take Terry out of there. Javonte, you got to play. That's an automatic. You're playing Javonte Williams. Great matchup. Should be amazing. Now we're just debating between Najee and Cam Akers. And like I said, Cam Akers is in a great spot. Najee, I'm a little worried about, man. Like, obviously the offseason rumblings were not great. How much are they going to use Jaylen Warren? And I think Cam Akers got a really, really good matchup here in week number 1. I'll go Javonte and Cam Akers. But I really like, first of all, I like Najee the person. The player is a little, start and stop. I don't think he's nearly as bad as people are making him out to be. But, man, I like I said, I think he's actually a pretty good player. It's going to be a much better offense than we've seen in seasons past here with Pittsburgh. And I think Najee's going to get the rock. Can I also say this? Mike Tomlin, he's like a kingmaker at the running back position. I mean, this guy just takes anybody, and turns them into studs. That's Mike Tomlin's history. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be totally surprised, and I really wouldn't rule out Najee as a huge bounce back candidate here in 2023. I don't necessarily have the stones to like go all in on that take because, again, I think Jaylen Warren could get mixed in too. But I think here, week 1, you're definitely playing Javonte, and I like Cam Akers a little bit more than Terry McLaurin, who, man, such a good player. I'm so bummed that he's injured, dude. Honestly, he was one of my guys. So I was just like, yeah, we're going with Scary Terry this year. But nah, with that turf toe, man, that could be lingering for like weeks. If not, I mean, we've seen it before, guys, man, like turf toe. These guys try to play through it, and they suck all year. They're never hurt enough to not play, but it always impacts what they do. And I'm really worried that, man, he might be like this for the entire season. So I don't know. We'll see. Billy Mitchell, that's right. Smash that like button. Come on, man. Can you guys like and subscribe to the channel? Boy, come on. I'm actually coming out. Listen, first time. Can I share something with you guys? My people, it's the first time in 15 years that your boy is not doing something regularly on TV. I'll have some, appearances here and there doing some TV stuff, but regularly not appearing on TV. First time in 15 years. I know I look young, okay, because Asian don't raisin, baby. All right, but I'm just saying. So I'm a little bummed. I'm not gonna lie. Plus, Fantasy Zone, that was like literally my jam, bro. Like that was the absolute best show I've ever worked on. It was the absolute best cast of people that you could ever ask to work with. Um, and again, I've worked at NFL Network, but it was a tremendous show. I had the best time working with the best people. It really was a lot of fun. So that was a lot of fun. So I'm a little bummed, but long way for me to say it gives me obviously a lot of time to make videos and create content, man. So I'm going to be creating a lot more content, a lot more videos this season for sure. So yeah, man, if you guys would follow along for the ride, man, that would be awesome, bro. That would be awesome. Subscribe, like, do all that kind of stuff, man. Billy Mitchell, I appreciate you, boy. All right, here we go. Need to bust out one of my purple suits. That would be so funny, dude. Me just sitting here in a suit. And the thing is too, I wouldn't be wearing like my suit pants. I'd probably be wearing like shorts or something, like I got regular old, purple khakis on right now. That's okay. So I got some purple on right now, right here for you, Clark. But yeah, that'd be funny as hell if I just busted out my Joker suit for one of these live streams, just sat in it all day. That'd be funny. Dylan, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Half PPR, Miles Sanders or Najee? Miles Sanders or Najee? Ooh. Dotson or Chris Godwin? Give me Dotson right there. Well, actually, now I'm not so sure. All season, I've been saying I don't really trust the Baker Mayfield effect there in Tampa Bay, right? That being said, Minnesota, that's a good matchup, though. All right, let me ruminate on that for a second here. But Miles Sanders versus Najee. Miles Sanders is going to see a lot of work. I don't think the workload volume is a question at all. So I would imagine Miles Sanders is going to see a ton of work. Najee, Pittsburgh. You know what? You can't really play. I take it back. You really cannot play Najee against San Francisco, can you? San Francisco was just so amazing against running backs last year, and I don't really see that changing, right? San Francisco allowed the second fewest fantasy points per game to that position group. Running back, unclear workload is what I wrote. San Francisco allowed the fewest fantasy points per game to that position. 3.3 yards per carry allowed. That was the best in the NFL. They allowed the fewest rushing yards, and they allowed the second fewest touchdowns to running backs last year. So yeah, we're not playing Najee Harris today, boys. I hope you've got a different option than Najee Harris, dude. So no, we're not playing him. Go Miles Sanders right there. And you know what? I'm reconsidering here. I am going to say Chris Godwin. I'm going to say Chris Godwin against Minnesota. Hold on. I've got some numbers here for you. Don't worry. This isn't just off the cuff, although a lot of my stuff is off the cuff. Don't worry about that. Minnesota. Hold on. I got data. We ready? Are we ready, guys? We're ready. All right. Minnesota, it's a neutral matchup here against the slot. Although they did allow the second most receptions per game to wide receivers lined up in the slot last year. Their secondary, I think, is still very much a work in progress. I know they added Byron Murphy, but I think with Chris Godwin lining up, I don't know, primarily in the slot, he'll probably get away from Byron Murphy, and the rest of the secondaries, let's be real, not very good. So yeah, Minnesota has a lot of work to do in their defensive secondary there. Go ahead and give me Chris Godwin. Dotson was my initial gut reaction, but I think Godwin, when you look at the numbers and all, look at the numbers. I think Godwin's the guy. All right, so there you go. Clark Schuyler. I love this guy, Clark, man. 32 team, double PPR, 2.5 PPR tight end. This is like a fantasy football, like, Mad Lib joke. Like, this is something that I would put in like one of my videos to like make fun of us fantasy people. Come on, dog. Who is playing in a goddamn 32 team 2 PPR tight end bonus league? What kind of league is this? Come on. Oh my god. Do I prefer OBJ versus Houston? Cobb versus Buffalo? Nah, I'm going OBJ. Come on, dude. Or it's really, you're trying to ask me between OBJ and Chig, because again, tight end premium versus New Orleans. Hold on, let me look this up. I felt like I had a note on Chig. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Hold on, though. I got some stuff. Let me look up. Yeah, let me look up what we got going on here with New Orleans here. Where we at? Come on, computer. New Orleans allowed. I did have a note here. New Orleans allowed the third fewest touchdowns to the position group last year. They allowed a 53.2% completion rate to tight ends last year. That was tops in the NFL. They allowed the third fewest receptions to the position group, the second fewest yards to the position group, and the thing that matters the most, they allowed the fewest points per game to tight ends last year. Obviously, a lot of that's going to be matchup based. You know, the funny thing about like the teams that give up quote unquote a lot of points to the tight end group is like, did you see? Yes or no? Did you see Travis Kelce? If you saw Travis Kelce, more likely than not, you gave up a lot of points to that position group. Now, okay, now that being said, New Orleans did give up just 6.4 PPR points per game to tight ends last year. Again, best in the NFL. 6.4, that's outrageous, man. That's really, really good. So no big Chig. I love Chig. Look, you guys, man, I was hyping Chig Okonkwo last year, my guys, before he actually got some starts, okay? I love Chig Okonkwo. You know, the stuff that we saw from him in Maryland as a pass catcher, the athletic profile, the hands, like I love Chig. Plus the volume should be there here in Tennessee. You know, now that they cleared the decks. So it's a clear runway for Chig Okonkwo, man, but terrible matchup. You know, what does the offense look like? I don't know. Probably going to be still a lot of Derrick Henry, a lot of Nuke Hopkins. So, go OBJ there. OBJ, that's actually pretty easy. Gallegos is back. Swift or Smith-Schuster. Oh, I got that one. There you go. Pickens or Deontay. I think I got that one too. Jacob Pierce. You want to go Dobbins over T. Higgins at my flex. Other two wide receivers are Waddle and Keenan Allen. Yeah, you want to play Waddle. You definitely want to play Keenan Allen in what should be a pretty high-scoring affair. Plus, their secondary in Miami is not very good. I will say this, though. Man, I've got some concerns with the Chargers because I will say this, man. Vic Fangio's in town. What? And they signed Eli Apple. Yeah, man. This could be an interesting defense there in Miami. They're going to be better than they were last year. You bring in Vic Fangio, trust me, your defense is going to be better than it was last year, 100% for sure. You want to go Dobbins over T. Higgins? I don't hate it. I kind of like it. Like I said, Houston's a great matchup for Dobbins, so go for it. All right, Billy, what you got for me? Half PPR, Samaje Perine or Jaden Reed? Wow. You know what? You know what's funny? I actually like both. I think Samaje Perine's a really good matchup play against Las Vegas, who again I think they're absolutely they could be a dumpster fire this year. Absolute, just holy shit dumpster fire. Could Las Vegas be this year, man? I'm talking like Yoda now for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, look, no Chandler Jones obviously on the defensive line. Yeah, it could be bad. Samaje Perine, I think, is a good player. I've been on Samaje Perine since his Oklahoma days. By the way, if you guys don't believe me, man, I'm telling you, go back in the archives. Like, go to NFL.com. Like, people that I'm, sleepers that I liked. I was like talking about Samaje Perine when he was, with Washington. Okay. Obviously, I look like an idiot for a long time, and then obviously he pops up with Cincinnati. I'm like, see, I told you, this boy could play. The guy could play. Samaje Perine. Anyways, but I do like Jaden Reed. I keep going down this road and taking left turns, man. Anyway, I like Jaden Reed. Romeo Doubs is banged up and hurt. Christian Watson's out. Chicago's defense is pretty good. Is going to be better than it was last year. But it's still pretty bad. I'm really curious to see how they roll Jaden Reed out. I think with Watson out, they're probably going to play him wide. Our guy Matt Harmon believes that he could play both inside and outside. So that's interesting. Chicago last year, look, it was a good paper matchup, but there was a lot of metrics that would tell you that that they were better than they were in terms of fantasy points. Because last year, Chicago gave up the 8th fewest fantasy points per game, but they were bottom 10 in terms of pass EPA allowed to outside wide receivers. Yards per target, 9.2 yards per target allowed to outside wide receivers. That was third worst in the NFL. And then everything else is like kind of sort of like league average neutral. Okay, so I would think that some of the actually advanced numbers, we're talking yards per target and pass EPA allowed, would indicate that it's not a very good secondary. Obviously, Jalen Johnson is now back and supposedly healthy. They added a great pass coverage linebacker in Edmonds. But I think overall, I think it's still a very gettable defense. And I kind of sort of am interested to see what the volume looks like here for Jaden Reed. So I will take, of two very risky plays, I will take Jaden Reed in a half-point PPR system. Zay05, what's up, man? I feel like this is your first time in the chats, and if it is, we welcome you, dude. Appreciate you jumping in here. All right, you picked two. Adams, Waddle, Ridley. Oh, man, this is a strong group. This is not the trash that I've been working with at the top of this chat group, okay? Hey, listen, dude, play Adams. It's fine. I really like Ridley, too. Oh, man, I like Waddle, man, too. This one's a tough call because everyone's so good. That's the problem. I've got Ridley in my DFS lineup, but, I don't know how you get away from Adams and Waddle. I just don't know how you do it. I like Ridley, but, I mean, if we're being 100% honest, he hasn't played football in like 18 months, dude. We're talking an almost 2-year layoff. Let's give the guy one game to get back into it. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, go play Adams, go play Waddle. I think you do that with confidence, okay? All right, Mitch M., what's up? Standard scoring league. I love it. No PPR, let's go. I love that. Start one, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Olave. Oh, you're playing Olave. Yeah. You're playing Olave, dude. Olave, this is a smash spot for Olave. I love Olave in this matchup. I got some numbers here for you. Tennessee versus outside wide receivers was just absolute garbage. Okay, I've got Chris Olave as a smash start today. I've got Rashid Shaheed as a sleeper. Why? Because Tennessee was absolutely horrific against outside wide receivers. They allowed the most fantasy points per game, the most touchdowns, the second most yards, and receptions to outside wide receivers. Shaheed, by the way, played about 75% of his snaps as an outside wide receiver last year. I'm expecting a mini breakout campaign here for Rashid Shaheed. Obviously, I think they've got a nice quarterback upgrade there with Carr. Olave, smash, start, play Olave, play him. The only thing that hesitates me about Shaheed is that it's supposed to be a pretty low-scoring game. Both these teams are boomer offenses, man. They're running that rock, running that. They are establishing the goddamn hell out of the run. Okay, Tennessee, New Orleans, let me tell you, they're gonna establish that run, boy. Okay, that's the only thing that I've got concern with Shaheed is the volume concern, obviously. Juwan Johnson's actually a good sleeper play here too, as I highlighted earlier in the show. But if you missed it, Tennessee's given up a lot of production to the tight end position. All right, Chuck, what's up? This has got to be the first time you're in the chats, boy. It's got to be. Chuck, we welcome you in, dude. I don't remember there being a Chuck last year. All right, higher upside PPR. Chig or Musgrave? Love you. I love you too, pal. Love you too, buddy. Give me Musgrave. Higher PPR upside. Again, no Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs, not supposed to play a full complement of snaps. They got to throw the ball, I would imagine. I'm not a LaFleur fan, but everything that he runs is like, stick and comebacks and all this like short underneath stuff. I think Musgrave is going to work. I don't know. I kind of like it. Chig, like I said, in a brutal matchup. Brutal. And so, yeah, go ahead and give me Musgrave right there. Jason McFarland. What up, dude? Good to see you this morning, or at least it's AM here on the West Coast. Deion Jackson or P. Ryan and PPR. I think they're going to work in that kid Evan Hull in Indianapolis a little bit. So I think we're talking about two guys that are in timeshares, right? And I like P. Ryan. I said Javonte Williams is a smash start, and he is. Now, that being said, I at least want to have be open to the possibility that it's a bit of a timeshare to start the season as Javonte Williams is getting back from a very, very bad knee injury. I mean, really bad. This was not your typical ACL tear. You know what I'm saying? A really bad knee injury here for Javonte. Now, I from all the reports that I'm seeing, he's back. Like, he should be fine. But don't be surprised if the coaching staff plays it with a little bit of kid gloves here, at least in week number 1. I'll go ahead and take P. Ryan, who I think, again, is a very talented player. By the way, they went out and sought him in free agency and brought him in. Plus, we know that Denver, look, Sean Payton's going to work the running backs. You know, he's had these two running back systems for a while now. We just haven't noticed because for a long time it was like the Drew Brees Michael Thomas show or the Drew Brees whoever show. It was the Drew Brees show. So we didn't really notice some of these running backs there in New Orleans, man. But remember, like Pierre Thomas or like, you know, all these other dudes that just came through that system and they were productive. So I like P. Ryan. I don't hate P. Ryan. And like I said, I think it's a plus matchup too against Las Vegas, who I think is in shambles right now. Clark Schuyler, Bellatrix in regards to Zeke Elliott and Ramondre. No, you're right, man. You're right. Charlie J. Sharps have Pats winning versus Eagles. If the game is close, it's going to be Ramondre. Yeah, I mean, dog, listen, Charlie, I hear what you're saying. Like, I've got all the numbers in front of me. Like, I get it, you know? But sometimes these coaches, they don't, it's just, man, it's like sometimes these coaches, they just don't care about analytics. You know, like, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Everything would tell you it's Ramondre from a numbers perspective. I'm just saying these old school coaches, and that's what Belichick is. I just don't know if they're going to care. So I'm not sure. You know, the thing is, you're probably right. You're probably right. Ramondre's probably going to get the bulk of the carries. Probably be 70-30 split, right? Probably. But let's at least have the door open for that to not be the case. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And I'm only saying that because you are like everyone else in fantasy and have completely written off Zeke Elliott and just said, and think that Zeke Elliott is toast, that he's done, that he's done. And I'm not ready to go there yet, mostly because I've seen too much football and I've seen way too much of Bill Belichick to think that Zeke Elliott is just done. All right. That's all I'm saying. Michael, let's go. Flex, J.K. Dobbins, James Cook. I love J.K. Dobbins, but I like James Cook as well. I mean, I could tell myself a story where James Cook is the guy. Okay, now that being said, not a great matchup, right? One of the toughest defensive lines in all of football. When you're talking about going up against the Jets, that's why they allowed the fifth fewest touchdowns to that position group last year. It was more of a neutral, like PPR paper-based matchup, right? They're middle of the road in terms of fantasy points allowed to that position group. But can we be real? A lot of that is because they had the worst quarterback situation in football last year. And it allowed teams to run the ball in, you know, positive game scripts. I don't think that's going to be the case against Aaron Rodgers and the boys there in New York this year. So, yeah, I mean, this is a Jets defense that, by the way, you know, again, I know everything was neutral last year. 4.27 yards per carry. It's just that was about league average, but yeah, man, I'm not feeling it, you know, with James Cook, at least not here in week number 1. Go ahead and give me J.K. Dobbins in week number 1 versus James Cook. But I could be, dude, let me just tell you right now, I could be absolutely wrong, 100% wrong on James Cook. He could absolutely he's the kind of player that could break one to the outside and be just gone, right? So I'm open to the possibility that I'm 100% wrong on this, but I think J.K. Dobbins in that matchup. Charlie says J.K. should eat, but if it's a blowout, Gus will probably eat some clock. Yeah, I don't know about that, you know? Yeah, I think J.K. might get some work here. Even in a blowout, I think he might get some work. All right, better season outlook. Laporta, Ferguson, Musgrave, Okonkwo, and PPR. Laporta looked great Thursday night. He really did. And right now they don't have an outside wide receiver, and Laporta and look, Laporta and Amon Ra, they're trying to give them some vertical looks, but I don't know, man. It's obviously not a strong suit for Jared Goff, anyways. Yeah, I kind of sort of like Laporta, but let me just say this: I love Jake Ferguson. I've been on Jake Ferguson since last year, and I've been comping him to a baby Mark Andrews. Those are the vibes that Ferguson gives me. I think he's a really good player. He's playing with a pretty good quarterback there in Dak Prescott. Volume share is the only reason why I would be like, I don't know, right? You got Brandon Cooks now there in the fold. Obviously, CD Lamb's going to see anywhere between 9 to 12 targets a game. Um, uh, yeah, and yeah, you just I don't know. I think the wide receivers are going to get a lot of work. So how much is left over? By the way, Tony Pollard probably going to catch some balls. So what's left over now for the tight end? I don't know. They let Dalton Schultz go, which I think is a very smart move. And let's just see if Ferguson could cook a little bit. But yeah, season outlook wise, kind of like Laporta. But maybe it might be Ferguson there as well. I don't know. Those are, by the way, all those guys are pretty good. Okonkwo's probably going to, I would anticipate Okonkwo probably sees the most volume of all of those guys because, again, they don't really have too many pass catchers there in Tennessee. But the question then becomes, like, how much are they going to throw the ball? But I think overall, target share-wise, Okonkwo is probably the most secure. But, man, I just can't get away from this Jake Ferguson kid, man. Just talent-wise, I think he's really, really good. Cal Dillard. I didn't answer your question very well at all. I'm sorry. But, to be honest with you, at that range in tight end, these guys are going to be really, really close. So I don't, if you're asking me if there's like a difference maker, I don't think there's a difference maker in this group, to be honest with you. I don't think any of those guys cracks like the top 5. I think they'll be flirting with top 10 finishes each and every week. A lot of these guys will be on my sleeper list each and every week too. But yeah, anyways, moving on. Cal Dillard. Oh my God. I can't believe I've just talked for almost an hour. That's just effing bonkers. I better rip through some of these, dude. Cal Dillard. How many more do I got? Do I got a lot more? Okay, good. I don't have too much more. Great. Okay, Cal Dillard. Full PPR flex. London or Dotson? Terry is active. Yeah, he's got that turf toe, right? So I think he might be limited here a little bit against Arizona. Washington anticipated to, I don't want to say blow him out, but a 7-point favorite in that matchup is pretty strong. I think the running backs get some work. And Dotson, I imagine, will get some work too. But, bro, you got to play London. I've got him in my DFS lineup, but let me tell you something. You've got to play. Absolutely have to play Drake London. Carolina last year, hold on, I got some numbers here for you. Versus outside wide receivers, Carolina was brutal. Drake London, I've got as a smash spot. Carolina allowed the third most fantasy points per game to outside wide receivers. They allowed a 68% completion rate. That's the worst in the NFL. They allowed the third most receptions and the fourth most yards. So, again, how healthy are they on the outside? That's always going to be a question. But, man, I love Drake London. And I think he's an absolute must start. And I think he is gonna have a really, really good game today. It's just, again, where is J.C. Horn at with injuries? Back-to-back years now with season enders. It is fair to question whether or not, Horn is going to be the athlete that we saw coming out of school. Because, man, coming out of school, J.C. Horn was locked down. But back-to-back now, season-ending injuries, it really is fair to ask, what are we going to see from him? I don't think Dante Jackson's great on the other side, so that should be fine. And then, look, I know they got Von Bell in the secondary there as well. I love Jeremy Chin. But, I think overall it's a very gettable defense. And yeah, man, go ahead and give me Drake London. I think he's going to eat. I do. Rashad Penny is a healthy scratch. Yeah, there was reports that he might not have even made the team. Now, that being said, I still don't think there's a lot of backfield clarity there in Philadelphia. So we'll see. But Charlie J. Swift has New England's got trouble with this type of back in regards to Swift practicing with wide receivers all week. Well, I guess Charlie. Yeah, I guess you got some inside info, boy. I like it, dude. Let's go. All right, Puff 1028. I believe in Rodgers for season long, but not this week. Not against Buffalo. By the way, Buffalo is not going to be as good defensively this year as people think. They're just not. You lose a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, and that middle part of that field starts to get a little compromised. He was really good in coverage. Really good in coverage last year was Tremaine Edmonds. So I just don't think they're going to be as good as they were in seasons past, by the way. They'll still be good. They'll be a good unit, but don't be surprised if some of these teams, especially in the AFC East in Miami and New York, they get after him a little bit. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Jalen Hyatt, an easy drop for Kirk Cousins for week 1. Oh, you want to play Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers? No, don't do that. That's, not advisable. I'm intrigued by this Jalen Hyatt character. I thought he actually played pretty well in the preseason in limited action, what we saw. And the one thing I can honestly say about Danny Dimes in New York is that he has historically been a really, really good deep ball passer, extremely accurate. He can spin it out there. He's got the requisite arm strength, and he puts good trajectory on some of these deep balls, and really historically has been a really good deep pass thrower. Okay, so Jalen Hyatt gives them some of that verticality. They've got a lot of they've got like 10 slot receivers there in New York, dude. So I think Jalen Hyatt has an opportunity to kind of sort of, make a name for himself. I know Darius Slayton could get some outside work too, but Jalen Hyatt could be a speed slot guy. He could be a flanker receiver. I don't think he's going to be an X receiver, but could be a flanker, playing a little bit off the line and then just asking to run vertical routes. So I'm intrigued by Jalen Hyatt. Let's see what he does today. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a splash play, honestly. And Kirk Cousins, I don't know. I'm playing Rodgers. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game against Buffalo. And I think Rodgers is going to be forced to sling it, and I think he will. I think he'll be fine. Garrett Wilson, I think, should have a really nice game today too. So, don't play Kirk Cousins for Aaron Rodgers, guys. And here we are. We're off and away, dude. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone's questions. My bad. I got lost in the stream, dude. But we got to go. I got to watch some football, dude. I hope everyone has a great week 1, man, and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. All right, peace.